Hi guys, just checking you can hear me.
Yes, Sam, I can. Thank you.
Thanks, maybe.
Yeah, we're right, Sam. Bernie?
Are you there, Ross? Cool. And
Yep, thanks.
Rogan, are you there?
Yep. As well. Yep.
Cool, thank you. Just reminding you, guys online, that you do need to leave your screens on, please. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the council meeting for the 26th of March 2025. And can we start with our usual karakia, please? Whakatakaho ki te uru, whakatakaho ki te tonga, ki mā kene i kūta, ki mā tāratara ki tai, e hiaki ana te atakura, hei tio, hei huka, hei hohu, ti hei momo yora. Thank you. So welcome to councillors, welcome to staff, welcome to those that are online and members of the public that are joining us today. It is good to have you here and media as well. Thank you. So we do have an apology from Councillor Young, and we're also noting that we have 3 councillors who are joining us by Zoom today, Councillor Jennings, Councillor Brannigan and Councillor Boyle. Just move all acceptance of all that. Thank you, Councillor Olsen, for seconding. All those in favour? Against, carried. So today we have a number of people who are speaking to us, or we're hearing submissions on the Levin Town Centre, Levin Memorial Hall issue. But first of all, we do have some public participation in terms of the dog bylaw. And Rosemary, you're welcome to join us, please. Thank you. And thank you for accommodating our request to get here a little earlier.
So thank you, Mr Mayor, and councillors, for allowing me to speak to you today. My name is Rosemary Cleater. I have been a resident ratepayer, dog owner, dog trainer and dog breeder for some 55 years in the district. I want to speak to you today about the dog bylaw submission. It's great that it's going out for consultation, but what is not so much what is in the bylaw as what is not in the bylaw that concerns me. So there are, usually when you put out things, minutes, etc. anyway, or regulations, but I've dealt with them, you put in what is added in and you show what is being deleted. So I think it's really important that we have to have real clarity around what's being done. Now my concern is the puppy registration. There is no mention of it in there, and I believe it needs to be fully discussed. It was in the questionnaire that went out. However, the questionnaire was extremely loaded to get the answer that was wanted, rather than being clarity. In other words, it said, do you agree with the puppy registration and will you pay more to cover that? Well, there's only one answer people are going to give to that, is it? It's like asking, are your rates going to go up, but, to cover such and such. So it's really important that that puppy registration is added in somewhere, even as consultation, separate to the bylaw. Puppies should not be neutered under a year old. So it means that any new puppy registrations have to pay full price, and that puts people off. So I'm part of the Dog Obedience Club. One of our requirements is that anybody participating has to be council registered. Now, it's actually putting people off coming and training their dogs because they do not want to pay the high fee. So it is really important, and I will be putting a submission about that, but I want to see it included somehow in the consultation. The other thing that's missing in the consultation, and maybe it shouldn't be in the bylaw, but the classes of registration. We currently have 12 classes of registration. Do we still have 12 classes of registration? Is there going to be? There was a question that said about the Kennel Club members, and I, of course, my dogs are registered under that. So it said, would you want to go under the special owner policy or whatever the new name is? And it's really important that we have clarity. If it goes under the new special owner policy, forgive me if I keep calling it that at the moment, then what happens with entire dogs and bitches, which of course what Kennel Club members have because they show them and breed from them, and then are you going to turn around and ask all those people to pay the unneutered fee? Now, myself, I have 4 registered German Shepherds, and they're all registered, of course. But do I then going to have to pay extra for all the ones that aren't spayed? So that's really what I want you to consider as to how those things can be included somehow in the consultation. It should be transparency, not smoke and mirrors. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Any questions, or we'll talk about this issue when we get to the item on the agenda, and no doubt officers will make some comment around what you've suggested there as well. But has any councillors got any questions of Rosemary? There appear to be none, so thank you, Rosemary. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. I will be going on home and looking online. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. So we're due to start our hearing of the submissions at 11:15. So we'll just continue with the report, which moved to 6.1, which is the mayoral report. Move that this report be received and noted. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Any comments, questions on the report? Noting that included within this report is the LGNZ full monthly report, and I did just want to talk about how LGNZ have been spotlighted in the media recently in terms of one in council, another council that removed itself from LGNZ, which, when you read this report and see the amount of work that's gone on, it does surprise me, to be honest, and I'm just sort of, I think they give us enormous support. The fact that we can have a lot of professional development in that space as well is really valuable, and so the work that they do behind the scenes to support us in the work we do is really important. So I just want to make that comment. Also, the NZTA submission that we've made on the speed limits, I've had nothing but positive feedback on their submission, and it's been well received by those in the community that requested us to retain or revert back to, or retain the speed limits at 80 k's in those areas. All right, so let's move on. I know we're a couple of minutes early. Right, sorry. Thank you, Alice. Confirmation of the minutes. So, recommendation is that the meeting minutes of Council on the 12th of February 2025 be accepted as a true and correct record. Moved and seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. And that the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of Council of the 5th of March be accepted as a true and correct record. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. All right. Also, just checking with councillors on any declarations of interest. Councillor Proctor.
Yeah, I'll be stepping away from the table for the submission, the hearing of submissions, and I'll be speaking alongside MTA. And then I'll remove myself from the discussion in the publicly excluded portion of the Live-in Town Centre hearing development. Sorry.
Thank you. So noted. All right. So let's move to our 7.1, the receipt and hearing of submissions for the Live-in War Memorial Hall and Village Green proposed redevelopment. Just moving recommendations that the report 25/143 receipt and hearing of submissions for the Live-in War Memorial Hall and Village Green proposed redevelopment be received and noted. Seconded by Councillor Olsen. All those in favour? Thank you. And just noting for members of the public who are within chambers and watching online, this part of the open agenda is just to receive the hearing and of the submissions. The decision on the feedback will be considered in the public excluded part of the council meeting today, and then following that we'll see how that develops, and therefore there may well be a decision released immediately, depending on what the outcome of that decision is. We do have some submitters who will be speaking to their submission, and we've, as noted, there is something like 331 submissions that we've received on this matter. And I just wonder, is Quentin here? Okay, so Bronya's here. So let's start with you. Thanks, Bronya. So this is submission number 107, which in your big file is probably second or third in the list that we've got, because all the public, those wishing to speak, was put at the front of that. Welcome, Bronya.
I'd like to thank you for having me today to talk about my submission. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about myself. I was born here 43 years ago at the Live-in Maternity Hospital, and I lived and grew up in Oho, where I attended Oho School and then continued my secondary education at Horowhenua College. After Horowhenua College, I did leave the community for around about 20 years, or just under 20 years, and returned here in 2019 to take up the position of dance and drama teacher at Waipahu College, of which I'm currently on study leave from, to complete a Masters of Fine Arts in Creative Practice, to assist with developing that department further in the future and also bring my knowledge to the community. I'm also an active member and part of the committee of the Live-in Performing Arts Society, and currently choreographing our junior Madagascar production, which begins on Anzac Day. I encourage you all to come and watch. The submission for me, having returned after 20 years of absence from the district and community, is one dear to my heart as a passionate performance artist, and an advocate for our youth to be shown and educated and grow as performance artists, that this space is, in terms of being used for property and commercial spaces like cafes, is underutilising a potential area that I see could be used more for an arts hub, as I like to call it, which would include, from my vision, a art gallery, a museum, and a performing arts area. In my research before coming here today, I looked at finding an arts and culture heritage action plan, of which I found two most recent ones. The last one finished in 2021, and it was brought up in the previous action plan, 2014 and to 2016, that there was a lack of inexpensive spaces for arts and culture and heritage for the community to go to and share our stories. It also explained in the 2014 to 16 one that there needed to be availability of an appropriate performing arts venue, which seated around, it says 500 plus people, of which we don't have in Levin. I personally see that it would be best to utilise the space around the Memorial Hall to have a museum space where we can share our heritage, tell our stories, and preserve the stories of our past, but also encourage and teach our students and our younger members of Levin about what has happened and how we could use that in the future. As an educator as well, there are very limited spaces for us to go and take our students to tell our stories, and limited resources and people to be able to come in and talk to us about those stories. We are constantly having to leave our district and go to either Palmerston North or Wellington, which has a cost, which many of our people and students can't afford due to the living wage issues that we have at the moment. So I would see this space as a better utilised space, as a space where we can share our stories, have professionals come to our community and share their knowledge and understanding with our younger youth. It would also then create a youth space where people can come and engage and learn about what we have offered and what we can offer and live in. It also then links a lot to our Aotearoa Histories curriculum, which we do have to now teach across all curriculum areas in our schools. And also the outcomes one in the 2018 to 2021 Arts and Culture Heritage Action Plan. It brings up Horowhenua District Council will hold annual Horowhenua Got Talent competitions. I haven't seen any of those in my return. Horowhenua District Council will also explore the opportunity of an open busking stage. I believe that this arts hub venue would allow to cater for that kind of thing. Action 3, our community will feel well supported by the council and community to complete community-led initiatives without a space for us to do that in a central hub that is not connected to our school or a specific society. We are not able to do that for visitors. And then outcome 4, Horowhenua will reflect the vibrant communities that our residents and visitors alike are proud of. We are starting to do that. We have the Diwali Festival, we have our Pacific Arts Festivals, and we have our 2 independent societies, the Live in Little Theatre and Live in Performing Arts Society, which do that in a performance art space. We also have our various art galleries and things around. But having an actual hub where we can come together and share that. I know that the Pacifica Performing Arts space struggle to find a venue that is, one, adequate enough for them to perform on, or big enough, or available. I also run the use of the auditorium at Waipahu College and constantly having community members coming in asking if they can use a space, which can be tricky because we need to use it for educational purposes first and foremost. This hub would enable that space to happen. For example, also the Diwali Festival, which happened last year, had to come up with an inadequate staging space so that the performers could perform, because it's not, I personally don't feel it's adequate for dancers to be performing on concrete spaces, especially young youth. I also, as part of my education role, had the Ballet Collective Aotearoa come and work when the school Creatives in Schools funding was available, to work with my students to have them have a professional work with them. That was invaluable for them. I know that the Ballet Collective Aotearoa really wanted to come and perform in this region. However, we did not have a space available that was adequate enough for them to be able to come and perform to our community. I know that Black Grace, a Pacifica Performing Arts or Contemporary Dance Group, excuse me, from Auckland, has roots in Porirua. Neil Itamir has multiple different dance performance pieces and also installations that I would love to have come and be shared with the community. Atamira Dance Company, I know that the RNZB in the past has come and performed here. However, they are often performing outside of the community. For our young dancers who want to go and see them are constantly having to leave our space, which dance is an expensive activity in itself. If you then have to add travel costs and performance tickets on top of that, it becomes another expense that often our community can't afford. So I would urge the council members to reconsider using this space as a commercial property space and as an accommodation space, and re-utilise it as a place where you can share that you value the performing arts and the arts sector, and create those spaces that you have spoken about in the past and that I've come and spoken to you about before, to make sure that you are putting value in behind an arts curriculum which shares an arts culture and heritage insight, which shares our stories to the community, which from your videos that you've put up where the youth were talking to the RSA very much have spoken about wanting to keep that heritage alive and share it with future. Thank you.
Thank you, Bronya. Appreciate that, and commend you on your research and digging into those reports of 7 years or so ago. A lot's happened in that space, and there have been a number of conversations around, the possibility of what the future was in the space, which I've been party to as well, because I do recognise there is a lack of performing arts facility in town. I suppose the challenge in 2025 is that some would consider that a nice to have these days, and the cost of actually providing that would be substantial. But also, I think this sort of thing needs to be very much community driven. Council's not going to be able to do it by itself. It needs that community support to be able to actually grow or institute something in that space. But you're not alone. I've seen a number of other submissions that say pretty much the same sort of thing. So, really want to acknowledge that and the work that you've done in that space. And thank you for taking the time to be with us. Good luck with your studies and those productions that you've got coming up as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for hearing me today.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Oh, sorry, Clint. Do you want to make a question?
Bronya, thank you for your submission, both written and presenting today. Love the fact that you've read back to us some of the key priorities within our wellbeing space. Absolutely agree that having a voice that has an arts focus somewhere within our wellbeing structures may be something that officers can pick up to make sure your voice continues to be amplified. Just really keen. I love the fact that when we started this process, we started with the word reimagine. And so you've certainly come with a concept or a view around how we could reimagine that space. My question to you would be, if it's not that space, does it need to be that place? Or would an alternative solution in time be acceptable?
I have not yet personally seen a space or area that would cope with a space where all of those three things could be supported. Just the fact that the Memorial Hall is already a heritage space in itself just seems to lend itself to being a museum and keeping that heritage in one area. It also then, as I know that you want to, when the O2NL is finished, you want to bring people off the O2NL to the community, and bringing them into the centre of town would be an ideal place to do that. There is parking spaces already there. There have been suggestions and conversations I've had with people about the car parking area across the domain from the New World. Ideally, if it was in the centre, then you're bringing people into this heart of Liven and to those retail spaces. So having it outside of, away from retail spaces, away from cafes, would not then feed people into those spaces.
I'm just conscious we've gone well over time. Have you got a quick question?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bernie. Thank you very much for your submission and resonate what Councillor Grimstone said around raising what you have. Also, just pick up on a quick point that my fellow councillors raised around. Hope you're going to encourage your students to register and vote, because that's certainly something we want to see our young people getting involved in local government and just getting them involved. But my question quickly, because I know Bernie's thing, in the expression of interest process that we put out, I just wondered, did the Performing Arts Centre and the Live-In Little Theatre understand, or were you engaged in that process? Because I'm interested about, you've clearly identified a need here, but I wonder, where does the Live-In Little Theatre and the Performing Arts, have they collaborated on anything to discuss what the hall could have been? Like, were we open enough in our process that you could have considered that? I'm just trying to understand if we consulted well enough.
I can't. In terms of recent, I've only been on the committee at the Live-In Performing Arts Society for the last 3. I'm coming into my 3rd year, so I can't talk to the presidents. Yes, they may have had a talk to each other. I'm not exactly totally aware. However, I know that Live-In Performing Arts and Little Theatre were consulted prior to, in 2019, when we had a talk. They were spoken and had their concerns heard back then. But in terms of this current one, I'm unaware of that, yeah.
Thank you, Bronnie. Appreciate your time. Okay. Is Quentin's not arrived? No. Guy, would you like to join us, please? Sorry, I am going to have to be a bit stricter on time. Sorry. Good. Sit there in the middle. If you press the button on your right, it should turn on a red light. So just turn your.
Press me.
That's
it.
Yep.
Okay. Right, I have 5 minutes. So can you give me a call when it's 4:55? Okay, I'll be very brief. And Your Worship, thank you very much for your attendance and giving me an opportunity to make a pitch to save the green. Okay, my approach within a very short time will be existing state of the Live-In Memorial Hall, the project reimagining financials, occupancy risk and developers risks. Okay, what is a village green? The village green is traditional common open area of grassland often located in the centre of a village, used for recreation and community events and gathering place. Fosters community engagement, family picnics, local gigs, Live-In food bank bus, etc., recreation and gatherings. Okay, a brief note on the Live-In Memorial Hall off your website. A significant community space in Live-In, serving as a place for gatherings and meetings, and was originally home to a shrine of remembrance listing 50 men who fought for freedom. 2 community spaces, toilets, walkable kitchen, foyer area. When not in use, hall is locked up and not accessible to the public. Project reimagining the Live-In War Memorial Hall, owned and managed by HTC. War Memorial Hall. Land sold to developer who will fund proposed development. Proposed day and evening use to include restaurant, craft brewery, retail spaces, retention of Freiburg rooms for community use. I will put to the council whether or not sufficient due diligence has been applied, not only behind the background of the developer, but also looking at options whether or not freehold or leasehold are the best ways to go. I would suggest something in the region of 25-year leasehold, which at that time the land would revert back to the council and back to the people of Live-In. The proposed day and evening use to include restaurant, craft brewery, retail spaces, and retention of Freiburg room for community use. The quotation to HDC of cost to upgrade and maintain earthquake, strengthening of the hull. We haven't seen anything of that. Comparison of 2025 estimate versus 2014. Many developers build in significant excess profits and contingencies, which are questionable when analysed. Considered options as I meant before, leasehold or freehold. Is HDC providing incentives to developer, such as rates, holidays, and infrastructure discounts, utilities, connection fees? What incentives are being given by developer to attract tenants in retail space? Developer due diligence inquiries and vetting obtained by council. Has it been done, and to what extent? Why is only one developer chosen? What is his background and skills in this particular project? Developers' track record on completion, quality, architectural aesthetics, time to sell apartments, sold upon completion and on and off plan. None of these we have. Selling price of apartments, considered existing developments of completions and unsold units, which are quite a few in Levin. 3-storey apartment blocks containing 18 apartments with or without parking. 2-bedroom, 56 square metre with deck, estimated according to a local estate agent, would sell at current price for about 500,000 Kiwi dollars, which is 3 million, simple maths, for that particular section. 12 1-bedroom, 45 square metre with deck would sell for approximately 350,000, total 4.2. So the overall developer's income from the basic unit sales at current prices is 7.2. The square meters of the 45, the meterage of the 1-bedroom square meter flats is rarely considered inhabitable in any decent society. It is the smaller the flat, the more it is to lead to social harm and family violence. What is the impact on other business areas, and how many may close? Will this cannibalize existing shopping mall, leaving a ghost mall, the craft brewery, which we'll look at in a few minutes? Has the council considered an alternative development which preserves the village green? Apartment blocks sited in car park between Farmers and Focal Point.
455, Guy.
Pardon?
455.
Okay, with a view of the village green is very important. Okay? So I think that's something which we need to consider, and I would strongly encourage the council to go back and discuss it with the developer. The last thing, if I may, the Wellington company, Ian Castles, promotes this development with his expertise based on his brother's experience in Christchurch. Christchurch has a population of 392,100. Levin has a population of 20,100. Bearing in mind the collapse of restaurants and also their little uptake of bars, the questionable is whether or not that is actually feasible. And also the other thing relates to overheating of flats, which in fact I'll make a copy of my presentation available to all, because there's some further detailed analysis which we've got relating to vacant shops. From Wednesday there were 19 on the south side. I'm sorry, I just wanted to get that point across there.
You've made your points. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on my list was Roger Truebridge. Roger's not here yet. Christine, would you like to join us now, please? So we're looking at submission 293.
My age. I know. You just can't even turn them around. It makes me young. I just wanted to say good morning and thank you very much, Mayor Bernie and councillors and staff for letting me be here today. Hi, I'm Christine Moriarty from the Horowhenua District Residents and Ratepayers Association, representing just over 200 people. We believe the sale of the land in Hall is short-sighted, bearing in mind the hall and the land are in an area of public amenities for the community, especially the youth, being the skate park, swimming pool, rugby field, library, picture theatre, car parking, and right next to the mall entrance. In the future, this area could be a youth and community meeting space for such things as fairs, food days, concerts, or other facilities for youth, such as a BMX track, because it does not have near residential neighbours who would be worried and complain about the noise from people gathering, making loud noises. It just seems stupid to have residential area next to a skate park. We believe that the refurbishment of the War Memorial Hall is important for us. It's important for us to remember those who fought in the war for us, and this is an important part of our local history. This hall has probably been built by the community. The hall could be updated and be used in conjunction with the green space for activities such as music concerts, small fairs, food stalls, etc., similar to what our previous speaker spoke about. We believe that giving away the future use of the land for a housing development complex in which residents have no input and control is short-sighted. We can see no reason that this planned sale and development will be a destination place when Levin is bypassed by O2NL motorway, such as the spaces designed at the moment. Ratepayers and visitors would seem to have no benefit in this plan. The council, i.e. we the ratepayers, lose the facility for the future potential. Only the developer benefits because he can sell all or any part of this development in any time in the future. Those developing the plan offer proposed amenities such as restaurant, breweries, shops, etc., which are pie-in-the-sky aspirations because we have enough buildings in our main street for these. When the council adopts option 1 or 2 in the local water services, the district will have the finances to protect and develop the area for future community use. Thanks. Short and sweet. Got my time.
Thank you, Christine. Just so you're aware, any money that comes out of Three Waters has to stay with Three Waters. It cannot be used for any other function within council.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we'll have more money because we won't be dealing or coping with the water issue. That's what I'm saying. It actually says in your options on local water services that the community will have more money for local projects when that goes. It actually says that in your document. I read it.
More debt headroom is what we have.
Well, you will have more money to do things for.
We have more debt headroom. There's a lot of difference between have more money and have debt headroom.
Well, that's what you said in your document.
Yeah.
I'm only repeating what you said in your document.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions of Christine? Well, good. Thank you very much. And appreciate your being under time as well. So, Tina. Okay, Tina, welcome to the table. Thank you for being early. So, Tina's submission is there's a hard copy, which I think follows that 293. Just give us a minute to find that, sorry. Tina. Sorry? Oh, was it?
It's on the screen.
Right. I thought there was something in here. That's right. Yeah, page number 25 of your agendas. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you. Kia ora tātou. My name is Tina Williams and I'm a New Zealand registered architect, and for the first 18 years of my life, Levin was my home. And even though I live and work in Wellington now, I continue to have strong ties to the region and genuinely want to see the best for this town. Although my earlier submission doesn't support this development, in today's submission I'll be offering a very basic design review of the concept drawings presented to the public. I do this with no malicious intent and am not discrediting my fellow architects. I offer my expertise simply to assess the design elements and their implementation. I'll broadly cover 3 points today that I believe require further development. Firstly, the arrangement of mixed use. 2, the proportion of the main outdoor space. And 3, the alignment of the apartment block. To my first point, I note that mixed use is good in principle, but without effective design, this will not equate to a successful space. At the large scale, the mixed use in this proposal breaks the continuity of the existing urban plan, jumping abruptly between public and private amenity, confusing the legibility of the town centre. And at the more detailed level, the impact of commercial, residential and community facilities on the adjoining spaces need further consideration. When commercial spaces are overly dominant, the adjoining spaces risk feeling closed when they are closed or quiet. This effect can be seen in the Turangi town centre, the area directly adjoining the Foxton Library Cafe, and the Waikanai Square at Mahara Place. When residential places are present, this can positively influence safety, but the current design of the apartments doesn't adequately encourage this and compromises privacy. Specifically here, the balconies are the strongest mechanism for getting eyes on the street, but the location of the apartment block makes it difficult to have balconies that are both well situated for the sun and overlook potential unsafe areas. With regards to privacy, the ground floor apartments are highly exposed, especially alongside the main outdoor space. The simple fact is that people are going to feel uncomfortable walking beside living room or bedroom spaces, and this is typically why you see commercial and public facilities at the base level of these types of residential blocks. To my second point, which is the point illustrated on the screen above, the red lines on these diagrams, this is an assessment on the proposed public space against other spaces and parks around the country. The red lines show the extent of the space defined by the building edge, and the black dashed lines the effective usable space once you account for circulation, privacy buffers, and commercial overflow such as outdoor dining. The top examples are spaces which typically don't feel welcoming or vibrant and are closed off to a range of spontaneous and creative activities. The next examples down on the second line do have these qualities, while also supplying lively commercial activity on their perimeter. The bottom line there shows the rough estimate, and I apologize, I was only going off the 3D schematics, show the rough area of the proposed live-in outdoor space, which shows that it is more comparable with the poorly performing spaces. And to my last point, which is the next slide, and this is in regards to the alignment of the apartment block, I will close with a basic sun study of the site that our office has modelled with CAD. This shows, if we can get that slide please, that with an average 4-storey building, 12 metres high, the outdoor space is almost completely shaded by 3 p.m. on the winter equinox and 5:30 p.m. on the summer equinox. That's the longest day of the year. Sun is the greatest asset a public space can have and is an enduring point of attraction, without which an enjoyable afternoon and evening venue will be difficult to create. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina, and look, I appreciate your continued interest in what is going on within the town centre, but also your technical insights. Very appreciated. Are there any questions of Tina? Councillor Grimston.
I appreciate the insight and the thought. So, given that what you're working off is conceptual, do you feel that some of the concerns that you may have could be addressed or mitigated through the final design process?
The design process is often a lot loftier than people anticipate. Optimistically, anything is resolvable, but it is highly constrained. And so there's always going to be that risk that something's not going to quite work. But definitely further study will, help explore if it is viable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Vivian, I note you're sitting there. Would you like to come and make your presentation to us now? Oh, Joanne's here as well. Okay. So, Vivian's submission is page 33. Thank you. Welcome, Vivian.
That was just a short one. Well, hello everyone. I'm pleased to see how many submitters feel like me that the village green should be left like it is. This little scheme should be a no-go and left on the table. Or, like Foxton, maybe, allow Levin's concerned citizens to work with the Memorial Hall. It has good bones and isn't that hard to fix. The village green, given to us in a subdivision 2 by Major Kemp, Rangiora, to make the town centre for our ancestors. But HDC haven't listened to the Crown Commission when they took up and said that the housing court houses had to go. The reservation status seems to have come off again, and this deal seems to be pushing through. But the other thing that I found I know this is just skipping off the subject a bit, but I really found this other document in this agenda very annoying as well, where it points to the community leases on page 265 and 283. They are wanting to come up with a new draft so they can release more reserves land and open spaces, like the racecourse, and even probably Mopoka Park, who knows, we're our domain. I hope this is left to the new councillors to come in. I see quite a bit of this land from the Crown Office being absorbed into people, like Stephen Nichols on Tiratira Road, Landfill. The Treaty of Waitangi has to be understood that the First Nations people, according to international law, the First Nations people are the most important version there is. I hate seeing operations selling out our Maori and Hapu land in 33 and 99-year leases, morally wrong. Family are not given to catch up to giving out this land. I know many Maori families who have put it in the Reserves Act, hoping that eventually they will come around, their families will come around for the solution. I took the submission forms down to the Aspire Church last Sunday, before the 17th of March, and they informed me, because they have their meeting there every Sunday, that they had already got their lease withdrawn from June onwards, and my grandson informs me that billboards have already gone up showing the new apartments erected in the village green. I was really disgusted, to tell you the truth, that HDC haven't even waited till the submissions.
Sorry.
My 5 minutes.
Those
I realise that. A proposal, yes, but the proposal's out there, and it shouldn't be yet.
Please just speak to the facts.
To us, the people of Levin, the community, the true value for Levin is the land. Our ratepayers have heard were heard to say, why haven't we heard of this proposal beforehand? David McCorkindale put the answer out, we can't afford to send the information out. I would like to know, please, Mayor, just how many ratepayers do we have in the Horowhenua, please? Can we have a spin-off?
We have approximately 19,000 ratepayers in the district, yes.
Why did they put out the proposal figure of 17,000 for sending out information?
We don't send information out by mail anymore.
Okay, yeah, anyway. The other thing that I've noticed over the last year, which I've often asked Robin Ryder, please can we have a bit more public consultation? The public seem to have been very excluded from this progress. The reserves thing say that you have a document that says that iwi will at least be given the right of first refusal. Have you taken it to the Rangiuia family?
So that policy hasn't been adopted by council as yet. We're still in the process.
Okay. Any other questions?
No. Thank you. All right, let's go back to Joey. Yep. Could I welcome Joanne to the table, please?
Morena, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm a bit nervous, so bear with. I am Joey London, and I'm here today on behalf of my partner Tim Alexander, who's out of our town at the moment, who put in a submission when I was out of town. We have concerns about the project. Primarily, our concerns are around what assurances the HDC can give to the ratepayers of Horowhenua in relation to this particular developer. Like one of our previous people said, he has a history in Christchurch, but that's apples and oranges. We would like assurances that this developer is going to stick to his word in relation to the actual earthquake strengthening of the hall. We don't appear to have any of those assurances as yet. We'd like to see them. I have concerns around the green. I think it's short-sighted, but if it were to go ahead, I have concerns around parking. I have concerns about the type of accommodation and what type of people those dwellings are being aimed at. They're 3 stories, so they're clearly not for our elderly. They're on a main arterial area, which is really busy. So they're clearly not aimed at family, because if they were family, we would have to fence it for the safety of children. So where does that leave us? I have concerns about residential versus skate parks, as others have said previously. I have major concerns about the loss of an open space. Once it's gone, it's gone. I don't know if there are any trees of notable whatever on the district plan. I tried to see that online, but I couldn't find it. Probably an operator problem. I'm sure it's out there. But our primary, and also like one of my colleagues said, have local iwi been consulted with first right of refusal. But primarily it's around, once it's gone, it's gone. And it's that area is such a hub. And I really like one of the previous speakers who talked about it being a museum and there's just so many other options And I understand that the council are stretched financially. I 1,000% get that. But once it's gone, and that's all I can say. So that's me.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you going. Just check if there's any questions from any councillors for you. There appear to be none, but your concerns are noted. Thank you. All right. Could I welcome Alan Pye to the table, please? Thank you, Alan. Alan's submission is number 250, which will be thank you, Ashley, page 19. Good morning. Thank you for speaking to this proposal. My name is Alan Pye. I'm involved in commercial real estate in the sense of working for finance. Sorry, Alan, could you just turn that button on? Yeah, well, those online won't be able to hear you. You might want to start again, actually, please. I'll reset your time.
Thank you. My name is Alan Pye. I'm with Colliers Real Estate, and I've been involved in the Levin market in the last 4 years, doing commercial and industrial leasing and sales. And in that time, I've worked with a lot of developers, and I work with a lot of investors. And I note that Levin has an ambition to grow. It has a desire to attract more people and business, and I'm heavily involved in just that process. I deal with people wanting to get into Levin, and there are no opportunities available. We have a limited land availability, which has now just been released with the sale of the big industrial Tararua roadblock. That's helping a lot. That's going to bring industry and people. And as part of that, we need to support them with commercial activity, with entertainment, hospitality. And hospitality in Levin, in my opinion, is very limited. And we desperately need investors to come in and to produce these opportunities. I believe that Ian Castles, despite what people might think of him, he's got a proven track record. He's been the guy who actually had the vision and courage to put his money into the Cuba Street area. He developed that into one of the best little hospitality areas where it was previously very average, run down, and it really ignited the whole situation in Wellington. And I do only hope that his vision can be brought here to help us to achieve what we want. And there's always going to be other people's considerations needed to be taken into account. I completely understand that. But the council has a building, the Memorial Hall, which is old, seismically risk-averse, a risky situation, and the council cannot afford to strengthen it. So what we have is a developer coming into the situation here to throw their money and their ideas at it, which will only improve our well-being and our opportunities here for entertainment in the evening. I mean, you go to Levin after 6 o'clock, it's basically dead. Everybody just goes home. The whole entertainment sector is very limited. Courthouse is a marvellous addition, and the council, I believe, were instrumental in helping that take place, and it's been very successful. Other opportunities are limited, and down in my neck of the woods, I'm down in Manukau. Used to be the Quarter Acre Cafe, that's closed. We just need to provide for the growth of this town. I have very strong feelings about the success of this town, and everybody will benefit from it if we get in behind these people. Because if we don't show confidence and we turn them away, this town won't go anywhere. We will just be battling all the time. And we need to have these sorts of people who put their vision and their money into these enterprises. And if they make some money out of it, good on them. And it's going to bring people to the town, bring people into the town centre, where it's needs to be. We need to have population in town. We need people at night around town to stop any future potential robberies. I mean, down in Otaki there, we went through a period where we had a lot of burglaries and people coming in from out of town to rob the shops because just nobody was around. We started out a local evening watch group, and that helped get things straightened out. But that's what we need. We need people around in town. So I think that really is just summarises what I'd like to say, but I'd finish by saying, in my opinion, Horowhenua District Council should grab this with both hands and go with it.
Thank you, Alan. Any questions for Alan? Councillor Tommy Hunter.
Tēnā Alan, thank you for your submission today. And yeah, we've got a lot to consider here, but I'm going to ask you in your professional opinion, what do you think Council's priority should be today? Should it be live-in town centre? Should it be infrastructure? Or should it be an O2NL that keeps our communities connected? Where do you think our focus should be, in your professional opinion, given you're from Manukau?
Well, that's a difficult one to prioritise because, I mean, they're all important. Well, I think the priority should be where the council are dealing with the basics. I think council's requirements to be able to provide for the growth. I mean, the infrastructure is probably very important. We've got water, sewage, roads. That's really what we need to be focusing the council on. And if we can get other investment to take the responsibility of strengthening buildings from the council, then I'm all for it.
Thank you. You're giving me exactly what
Thank you.
One quick one.
Ellen, just, I guess in your professional opinion, you've told us what good looks like in terms of what we need. In terms of other towns where that hasn't happened, have you got an example of bad, and what were the influencing factors of that?
I can only really speak about the local situation where Otaki, the main road went through, the main highway basically went through the town, through the village of Otaki, and the bypass left it quite feeling of abandonment. And there's been empty shops down there for some time. Everybody's confidence waned. People didn't want to go there. We'd have people wanting commercial premises for various types of businesses, and we could not get anybody to have the confidence to invest their money in those businesses. But I note just recently there's been two. The new Ko-Fi cafe is being opened, and the egg shop is about to open. Now that's two votes of confidence, and that will trigger future opportunities, and it'll just give people confidence, which is, I think, for any investor, they want to have confidence that what they're going to do is going to be supported. And, you know, when we have businesses and people attending them, I take the simple example of the Courthouse Cafe, and that's been enormously successful. And I know where friends of ours coming from Parabram, to come up to go and have lunch there because it's a new place and it's somewhere to go. And that's really important for our area, I think.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate your time.
Heather?
All right. Okay, so could I welcome Vicky to the table, please? Thank you. Vicky's submission is 318.
Page 29.
Thank you.
Okay, it's already on.
It is on, thanks, Vicky.
Okay, I'm also nervous. I haven't done this before. As you will read my submission, I do have reservations about the loss of the village green, but if it goes ahead, I want to present to you another possibility, another option for that area that could make the Freiburg Room into the creative heart of Levin. we'll have this empty space, which Mr. Castle said will belong to the community. I have long dreamed of having an arts-focused drop-in centre in Levin. And I would absolutely love for that space to be turned into this. It would be a space for everybody. Absolutely, no discrimination here. Everybody can come into this space. I would spearhead the campaign. I would get funding from Creative New Zealand. It would not cost the council. Mr. Castle might have to help a little bit, to get us through without too much cost. But it's just, we would have paid staff. It would be a place where creative workshops were held. The knitting group that meets at the moment in the Senior Citizens Hall would perhaps relocate there. The sewing lessons that are currently in Te Tākere could relocate there, but then the sewing machines would be available at other times during the week instead of just on Thursdays. So I've come today to speak on it. I've put it in writing so that it's on the record, but I've come to speak to show you that I really would be committed to this project. If Mr. Castle could agree to go ahead and the council agreed that this is a good plan, then I've got my hand up. Okay.
Thank you, Vicky. Look, I hope it wasn't too daunting for you. And please, this is a welcoming place, hopefully, and we respect all views and opinions that are presented to us. And thank you for taking the time to make your views known. It is appreciated. This is what it's all about: community having a voice. Look, thank you. Are there any questions for Vicky at all? Well, good. Thank you very much. I'm now going to look to Di and the rest of MTA if they'd like. You ready? All right. Okay. Then Charles, would you like to join us? Yes, please. Kia ora, Charles. While you're just getting settled, Charles' submission is on page 46.
So let's play mind games. To my submission, I answered the questions that were asked to the submission. So I'm saying right now, let's start for the governance component to ask me questions to my submission. Haramai. If you've read my submission, ask me questions to my submission. Any? No question.
Opportunity for you to present your submission, Charles.
My submission has been presented, and you've all supposed to have read it, right? So you should be questioning me to what I have already given you, right? Right, let's go another one. Other than my submission, I'm going to ask food for thought, okay? Subsection 2 of the Living Township is a double whammy because Major Campbell was a warrior soldier in the colonial government, right? The Living Memorial Hall was built in respect and remembrance of those New Zealand warriors who fought and died and were wounded in the wars fighting for our country and freedom. That's what the Memorial Hall's there for. And you people want to destroy it, or someone wants to destroy it. Why is this council promoting the selling off of the district assets of the ratepayers all over the place? What is next? The Rose Garden, the Botanical Garden, the Rugby Domain, the Wirral Cricket Grounds, the Racecourse, Division 1 of the chain strip each side of the railway lines. That's Māori land.
we're talking about. Those who support this or the Living Township transformation concept of selling our assets should pay their money where their mouth is, right? With any rate increases of this proposal going ahead, then we will see who will put their money where their mouth is. It's the user pays, because those who support this concept of destroying that area should be paying any. I can see if you go ahead with this, I can see the future. It's going to be more cost on the poor ratepayers. So it's a user pay things, and it's about the for and against proposals of looking at the documents that your governance, your operations have gone through, of those who are for and against. There is a no. There is a no-no. And there is a no-no-no. Kia ora tātou, any pārtai, any questions?
Any questions for Charles? Councillor Timmy Hunt.
Kia ora, Papa. I don't really have a question for you, but I do want to acknowledge your submission. You are a stalwart in this community. You're continually raising, consistently with us, your concerns and your issues for your whānau, for your iwi, for your hapu, and I really want to acknowledge that. And one of the complexities that I find myself in sitting here, Matua, is I know you're here as an individual, but I know you also can attest to being much more than that. And so I'm just asking, into capacity today, do you represent yourself, your whānau, your hapu? Because it will help me understand your representation here today. Because I know that we're about to have another group that represent the one. So, kia ora.
Oh, kia ora tātou. Who I am. Oh, okay. Myself, my siblings, and my first cousins, we come from three āriki, paramount chiefs of three different tribes. Tauiki here, Matakati up in Taranaki, and one down in Wellington. Right? We also come from three tohunga matakite. Okay? Two are Māori, which my grandfather was tohunga matakite. His uncle, Motai Tauiki, was one of those. And my European great-grandmother, she was a tohunga matakite from England. She was a shaman. She was a gypsy shaman. And I descend from these people. And when I get them in council, I care for the people. I help people that need help. I'm in the mara and then I help people. I'm a fisherman, hunter, gatherer. I learned things from the old people, the old Māori people. And there's a lot of things I will not share with the people of my people. And all that kind of stuff. And that's where I come from. And I am about, in this arena, is for the future generation, whether Māori or Pākehā or other cultures. It doesn't matter. I'm for their future. Kia ora tātou.
Councillor Boer has a question for you, Charles. He's online.
Oh, kia te wā. I support him.
Hey, Charles. Thanks for coming along. Always lovely to hear your voice. I just wanted to kind of pose a question to you about, so say we keep it, say we don't go ahead with this. We can't afford to fix up that building, can we? What do we do then? Do we knock it down and just keep a blank square of land? Yeah, kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah.
You can fix up that building. It's quite simple. You've heard a couple of people here today, experts, who are saying things that are against this proposal. They are the experts to look at the concepts of this proposal, and there are ways and means of doing it. And the community can get around it. If the council do fundraising, have galas and all this kind of stuff. We as a community, that's what a community is supposed to be, is to help each other and support each other. It's not just about the just council trying to work alone. That's what a community is. We're talking about the Horowhenua district community, not just Levin. Because it can flow on to what needs to be done in Foxton, Shannon, and other places, Manukau, whatever, Hokio, Waitariri, you name it. You've got support groups around, and we can do it.
Thank you, Charles.
Cool.
and appreciate again, as always, your views and opinions, and no doubt be considered along with everyone else's. Thank you.
Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Ngāti wā. Could I now welcome Margaret Taplin and Ross Follett, please? And they are on their submission on page 39. Welcome, Margaret. Welcome, Ross. Just to speak, push the button on the right-hand side of the microphone in front of you. That's it. Now you're on. Everyone can hear you.
You come back closer.
All right. You can turn yours on too, probably, Ross, if you like, if you're going to speak as well. Yep, that's fine.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So here. You want to start?
Well, but like Charles, hopefully everyone has read the submission. And any questions?
So there's nothing you want to introduce as submission, right?
I think
it was all there, basically, and hopefully if there was any queries, we could follow up.
Well, one of them we feel fairly strongly about was the Memorial Hall. Even though we do have an RSA here, of course, as our base, that was built, I think, about 53 or 54, and it means a lot to people. And it is a memorial to those people. It doesn't have to be a statue. It's a building, admittedly, but it's more than a building. It's a memory of those who died for us and paid the ultimate sacrifice. And I feel that if it can be saved, then it should be. And it's in the perfect spot where it is. You can do a lot with that building. I think mainly it's just the roof that really wants looking at, for what I've found out. That western side could be opened up partly, and there's a lot of bands and trucks and particularly married on people utilise it a lot for their music. That could be opened up there, and a stage for that would be an absolutely perfect social area. You've got the trees there, you've got the land, it's handy to everything. Also, you mentioned a restaurant part of this new build. There's plenty of restaurants in Levin. We've got one right by the picture theatre there, to be exact. And that's just touching on a couple of things personally.
Just so you're aware, Ross and Margaret, we have had a submission from the RSA, which actually does support what the plans are for the Memorial Hall, saying it's sensitive to its history and they were pleased to see it was being retained. So, just so you're aware, there are, even the RSA is supportive of that. But we do look like we've got a question from Councillor Tamihana, and I'm just going to have to ask you to take your microphone off, Ross, so that your mic can stay on, Margaret, but Councillor Tamihana, thank you.
Tēnā koutou. Thank you for your well thought out, articulated submission. Certainly have read it and taken on board your feedback. Really appreciate actually sharing your intergenerational connection to our town and your thoughts. The RSA one's interesting because our Levin RSA has struggled and we have lost the Foxton RSA in its entirety. And so while I understand that's there, I always in the back of my mind have a concern about the longevity of the current RSA and how we continue to support that as a community. But I'm going to ask you the same question I asked the previous speaker. I might ask everyone to consider it actually. What is your priority? What should council be considering as its priority? Should it be this development Should it be the infrastructure needs to support the development and the growth that's been predicted for our town, or should it be the O2NL and how we deliver that to community? Because that's actually what's going to connect and bring vibrancy into the town, perhaps. But I'm just going to ask you that question too. Where should our priority lie right now?
In answering that, to start with, I don't belong to the Green Party, so I'll get that off the chest. No, I do, sorry. No, I don't belong to the Green Party, so that's that. But I do, I've been here quite a number of years and brought my family up here. It just seems that everything seems to change. I mean, 1975, mid-70s, there was houses right around there, and they were all taken down. There was change from to a green area, and it's been that for many years now. It just seemed that, I don't know, people are selling their little tiny postage stamp back lawns to put something up, I suppose. So we seem to be losing all our greenery, and that green part there is right in the centre. It's so handy to everything. For people going shopping, it just seems to me to be a waste and just a shame to see it go. You know, maybe something to do with my early days on the farm, but it's such a lovely spot. And as far as mentioning housing, 3-story houses, I mean, do they have to have lifts? Well, I came to live in, there was no buildings that went over 2 stories. And I thought, this is marvellous coming out from the city. It was a nice farming town, it had that feel about it. You know, I mean, even just the post office spire, that's about all that went up that high. Now, all of a sudden they want to put 3 stories, but why there? And how much of that beautiful green is going to be covered in shadow from the sun coming around there? Do each of these places have to have a lift, which was made law years ago if it was over 2 stories, or even 2 stories? There's a lot of questions I'd like to ask, but I haven't got the time, but that's just personally my view. You want to get away, do you?
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge Justin. My thoughts. We're part of the RSA too, so we're very familiar with that. I'd just like to say we acknowledge the history of the Memorial Hall. The past, though, is not forgotten because the Livin RSA is in a new venue. They've got all their memorabilia is moved there, and it's now the Livin RSA and Community Club. Therefore, I'm sort of thinking that let's go of the memorial tag because I think that's where we're at. Let's modernise and rename it something like, I don't know name, but activity centre or similar. And to me, I feel that would be more appropriate and show potential for the use of this very central hub. And opening it out onto the green area, I think we've got to get rid of the memorial bit. We've got the memorial there at the Livin RSA. I might be in conflict with what they've been saying, but that's how it is. Let's use it to its full potential. Let's get a new roof. Let's do that. And I can think of lots of things, fitness classes, line dancing, housing, weddings, funerals. There's lots of things that we can have in this. I'm not even going to call it a hall. This centre, like the event centre. It's a smaller centre that we can utilise. Yeah. Perhaps we could, as a tongue-in-cheek, I thought perhaps the philanthropists, Ian Kessler and his partner, Caitlin, maybe they could come to the party and with interest in the Horowhenua, and we could name it the Castle's Taylor Centre. So that's my input.
Thank you both. Appreciate your time and effort and coming to speak to us today. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And youth voices. Okay. Di, welcome. Sure.
Just a correction. I was asked to put the space there.
Yes. Not you. Right. Okay. So welcome to the Tribal Authority then. Thank you. So, for councillors, as you can see, Ashley is just distributing a submission that the Tribal Authority is going to speak to. And noting that I have been a little flexible on the time allowed for this submission as well. Kia ora, Tim. Yes, no, press me, yep, that's it.
Morena tātou. The team and I are here to represent the Mahupoko Tribal Authority and our submission to the Horowhenua District Council, re the Taituko Transformation Town Centre and Development. To my left is the Deputy Chair, Simon Puiti, Manager of our Taiao team, Board Member and also Ngāti Pāriri Hapu Representative, John Proctor, our Kura Hokioi, Diane Rump, and our lawyer, Tom Benyon. I'm Tim Tukapua. I'm the chairman of the
And that person on your left?
Yeah, Dean Wilson.
Did he? Oh, I apologise, sorry.
Yeah. You might want to turn your thing up. And I'm here as the board chair, and also the Ngāti Hindi Hapu rep that sits on the board. Who are we? Because the word Muaupoko does not appear anywhere in the officer report you are considering today, we need to remind you. Not only do that, but we must do so here today. Muaupoko has lived on this land for over 700 years. 500 of those before you got here. Pākehā settlers, colonisers, property developers. The officer report you commissioned, your own 2018 strategy document, Transforming Taitoko Living, states that your strategy is named after Muaupoko efforts to set up the township in 1886. It says, culture and heritage. Leven, or Taitoko, has a rich Māori history, dating back to well before the town centre existed. Muaupoko rangatira, Tarangi Hiwinui Tikepa agreed to sell the land now known as Leven to the Crown, subject to a number of conditions, including that the town be named Taitoko. However, these conditions were not honoured, and the town was ultimately named Leven. There are many opportunities to recognise Māori cultural values in the town centre. In an acknowledgement of the significance of place to Māori, the town centre strategy has been named Transforming Taitoko Living. You may be interested to know that the conditions that our rangatira Te rangihiwi nui te kepa, Major Kemp, wanted to include the township to be named title 100 acres to be reserved, made sacred as a garden for the said town by the side of the Horowhenua Lake, Punaho, and the trustees are to be Te Kepa, the governor, with the mayor and council to replace the governor when they were established for the new town. 4 acres shall be reserved, made sacred, as a square for the said town with the same trustees as for the garden. 10 acres shall be reserved, made sacred, as sites for schools or colleges under the law of New Zealand, and said schools to be for native and European children. After the government had surveyed and laid out the town, every 10th section of the township to be returned to Māori ownership. Our rangatira, Te Rangihiwi Nui Te Kepa, wanted to co-design a township to be a beacon and model of a genuinely bicultural community which would be an exemplar and show the way into the future. I'm tossing up to add my own little ad-lib there. I'm gonna. What a missed opportunity. Muaupoko encouraged the township so that we, could receive the benefits of colonial settlements, access to schools, medicines, technology, and everything else that was on the wave coming through our lands. In participation in community and politics. We continue to do so today. In terms of the land affected by the current proposal, amongst other things, the town hall side bordering Queen Street is an ancient Muaupoko spiritual pathway from Tararua, the Maunga, to Punaho, our taonga, our pātaka kai no tua whakarere. Council conduct. In the 2018 strategy, the council said that Muaupoko would be, that we would be a partner in the development of the town centre identity, which includes the Memorial Hall site. A couple of things to bring to your notice. Partner with Muaupoko. Part of that is the town identity. Options for the Memorial Hall. Again, you mentioned town centre identity. It has therefore been beyond disappointing and frankly, absolutely culturally insensitive and insulting to find that the council, has not treated Muaupoko as a partner and refused to include Muaupoko as part of the steering group for this project. be offered membership of a community reference group instead, as a stakeholder with others, and still, until last month, relying on communications and engagement, essentially by email. That is not partnership. This means that we, Mua Upoko, have been excluded from steps outlined in the officer report that you commissioned. Council workshops leading to the development of the implementation plan, the development of the documents seeking expressions of interest, assessing the 10 expressions of interests received, the request for proposal process, membership of the Levin Town Transformation Steering Group. Consequently, the officer report you are considering today never mentions Mua Upoko and their requirements as a partner remain completely unknown to the council, even today. We are appearing today to voice our extreme unhappiness to elected members about this. This has caused a huge degree of anger, frustration, ho-ha, and upset amongst our people that we've not seen in recent times. Iwi members view this as a repeat of the Crown action in 1886 in ignoring the historic right Mua Upoko has to be involved at the heart of the ongoing development of Taitoko and Levin. What we are seeking today is we want you to delay your decision to receive this report and sell the land for at least 3 months until we have engaged with the council and the Wellington Company over the proposal and the report back to you any issues and proposed amendments, hopefully with agreement on any changes. We wish to be properly engaged with the wider Taitoko Levin Town Centre development project. In our view, the 2018 strategy created an expectation about the level of involvement that Mua Upoko would have in this process. That has not been met. This is in addition to ordinary requirements that the council has to consult with Mua Upoko affected by its decisions. We ask for this time to see what we can do to make things right and improve relationships between Mua Upoko and you, the council. We appreciate that the proposal has been shaped so far without us, but we do not want to undo what has been accomplished so far. So,
The Muaupoko Tribal Authority is alive to the commercial realities and limitations of the place that we have unfortunately arrived at today. If the project proceeds without this delay, we will consider next steps. You, Council, have an opportunity to enact that vision of our rangatira, Tarangihiwi Nui Te Kepa, wanting to be a beacon of what biculturalism might look like going forward. So thank you for listening to us and presenting our submission to you here today. Kia ora mai tātou.
Kia ora, Tim. Thank you. And look, respect and acknowledge the submission you made. Probably a pity that we hadn't received it earlier so that we could probably consider responses, because obviously at this stage it's a bit off the cuff to respond to any of the, the views expressed in that submission. But I'm sure when we come to make our decision later in the day, the views that you've expressed will be highly considered.
We're quite happy to take questions, but I kind of find it, I'm a bit annoyed by a comment that this is a bit off the cuff. I mean, we could have avoided a lot of this off the cuffness if consultation had been thorough and undertaken in the correct way prior to this as well. Our views could have been incorporated through the development much earlier than just turning up to a submission and having 15 minutes to talk about our history and our connections to our land and the unbroken promises that Pākehā and councils always deliver on.
Thank you, Jonathan. Councillor Tamiha.
Nei rā te mihi ana ki a koutou, kua tai mai, rau rangatira mā, e tū nei, e mihi nei ki a koutou, mihi nei hoki ki o koutou nei iwi, o koutou nei hapu, tai noa ki tō tātou nei whānau hoki. Kei raure te tūneu e tēnei whare, nau mai, piki mai ki tō whare. E maumahara au, e moe ai o ngā kōrero I puta atu I tēnei wā. Just firstly want to acknowledge your presence here today and the concerns and the submission that you've provided to us. I am going to ask you a similar question I asked earlier around prioritisation of my council to consider. But I actually want to go back, hearing what you're saying. There's an opportunity here, as we've heard from other submitters, to consider different types of caveats. And while we still have a decision to make as council around where we go, I do have an interest in what you consider some of those caveats could be. Because right now, I've heard from various speakers and some of the submissions that we've received, not many, about the community are really concerned about the loss of the community asset. And there are some complexities in the layers of that concern. So I'm asking today, moving forward, would you consider what types of caveats there are that could be offered to the developer in this process in terms of buyback clauses, in terms of usage clauses, in terms of community ownership opportunities? But I just asked that question first. I do have a subsequent question.
Tēnā koutou katoa, tēnā koe Justin. Tēnā kōrua, ngā rangatira, uncles. Just an answer to that question, great question. That's why we've asked for the delay, to be able to properly consider those things as submitted.
My subsequent question is actually, you've arrived with a lawyer today. And so with my counsel hat, I'm just going to ask, is there something that we're doing in this process that potentially puts us as an organisation at risk why we have legal representation? And I'm sorry if this is not an appropriate time to ask, but I think it's appropriate that we as a community and a group of council understand the role of that person here today. Kia ora.
As Bernie said, because you haven't had a chance to digest this, I think once you have, you'll have an answer to that question.
I do want to ask a question. So, yeah, thank you for the report. Also, kia ora to Charles for within his submission specifically, including the reference to the Horowhenua block in the terms that you've articulated here as well. I'm interested in the word excluded because it's a really strong word to use, and I get where you sit on with two views, but do you feel, given the process that council has undertaken, is excluded, is that the right word for how you would describe it?
We have constantly reached out to council and asked to be included in the project at the appropriate levels, and constantly been rebuked and told no, this will be our place. This is not an uncommon behaviour within the development of this town. Constantly Murupuku gift land, we gift names, and we're constantly then put aside and pushed aside for other motivations. I think we are asking for time to engage with the Wellington Company as well. We believe that the Wellington Company is receptive to working with Māori. It has developed a number of good projects over the years with Māori. It currently has joint projects with Ngāti Raukawa as well. And we just want that time to explore what this development may mean for Murupuku and the Wellington Company and the District Council at a more equitable level than has currently been put in place in front of us. And we need that time. And to recognise or rectify some of those things which were ignored and those unbroken promises that were made over 100 years ago, and whether this development can contribute to rectifying or easing some of the pain that we feel, particularly around the use of the name title.
Kia ora, and to add to that, aroha mai, important to note that our expectations were set specifically regarding the town centre development on your own document that's highlighted in the officer report and the statements made in that. So aside from our expectations and long history, in terms of the response today, we're responding to the officer report that states in your own 2018 strategy document that was called Transforming Title, that is referenced as the foundation document for this proposal. That is what was promised to us, not just the,
Thank you all. Appreciate your time. And Di, just for the record, you've gone over 20 minutes. Acknowledge the work that you've put into being here today, the videos, the conversations that you've had with the RSA and people like that, extremely beneficial for us, and we really, want to. We do appreciate the involvement that you've and the time that you've taken to put your views in to us. So. I've watched the videos and they're really cool, and so just acknowledge you. Liam, are you going to lead this, are you, or Casey? So the right hand button on your microphones is what you need to push to turn that red light on. When you see that, you're all set to go, so welcome.
Tēnā koutou, Mayor Bernie and councillors. Thank you for allowing us to speak on our submission. My name is Liam. I am 16 years old and am a student at Horowhenua College.
Kia ora. My name is Keisha. I'm 16 years old and I also attend Horowhenua College. We are here representing Horowhenua Youth Voice to share our thoughts and concerns about the proposed redevelopment of the Levin War Memorial Hall and surrounding areas. As young people in the community, we want to ensure that our voices are heard and that the changes being made reflect all generations.
As an aside, we look forward to working with Council on future topics that may come up. We're invested in helping you with this significant project. You may have seen on our social media, as we just mentioned, that we've interviewed with members of the RSA, and that was to understand their perspective on the history and significance of the Levin War Memorial Hall. This was also to help encourage people to have their say.
As a group, Youth Voice have discussed and workshopped this, as you can see from our notes. Today we will share some of our thoughts from that workshop. We have grouped our key points and comments into three main areas: youth-friendly spaces, sense of place and belonging, and environment.
I will begin by touching on youth-friendly spaces. So, firstly, the skate park is a very significant place for young people. Safe gathering spaces for youth are critical and also under-resourced at the moment. With the War Memorial Hall being redeveloped, we want to know what will happen to the groups currently using that space. We also want to acknowledge that public spaces should be inclusive of all ages. In the proposed development, there is a craft brewery planned, but what amenities or activities are being considered specifically for young people? Will there be some family-friendly vibe to this? We also suggest some form of free public Wi-Fi that could attract more people to the area and create a more connected, more modern public space.
Secondly, sense of place and belonging. The War Memorial Hall holds significant value. We assume that the redevelopment includes tributes to significant figures and events in our community history. Ensuring that new retail and public areas feel inviting and inclusive for all residents and businesses is important. The new apartments should be designed with consideration for privacy and noise levels. How will the changes affect the sense of community and live in? Will there still be spaces for local businesses to thrive?
And finally, the environment. Green spaces are crucial for well-being. The development also proposes an opportunity to change the way we currently manage waste in public spaces. For example, recycling. There could be a better way of managing this within the new space. We also would like to know if the new development would have pet-friendly spaces and allow residents to keep pets in these. We also would like to acknowledge road safety. With the new development, the area would be a lot more popularised, so we would like to see some form of increased road safety put in place for pedestrians and cyclists to ensure their safety in this more popular area.
Overall, as Youth Voice, we support the idea of reimagining the Levin War Memorial Hall. The proposed concept of the village green and the housing being introduced to the area, but we would like to welcome the opportunity to work with you to help ensure that young people are considered in the next stages of planning. We are happy to help. Again, we want to thank you for your time and consideration. We'd also like to thank council staff who have come and spoken to us about this project, keeping us informed and giving us good information to help us. We look forward to seeing how our feedback is incorporated into this development.
Well done, team. Excellent. Great presentation. Thank you very much. And Laura, holding the paper up as well. Look, we'll just open up for a couple of questions if there are any. So, Councillor Grimstone. Yeah, Liam and team, thank you for the video. I managed to tell my boys I was watching on One News last night when I was busy watching it, so they were very excited. What pricked my ears from a piece of korero that you shared was the number of times that
you had been into the current Memorial Hall? And do you feel that that would be reflective of those that are younger than you in this community?
I would say that having some of us in Youth Voice came in regularly for public events, whereas others, like myself, have not stepped in there once. But I think that it is a space that young people will use and do currently use in our community. Many events still currently go on there that are relevant and useful for young people to use that space.
Hey, thanks guys. Great submission, great video. Loved your passion and your thinking around it. But I also want to acknowledge the other groups that we've been lucky enough to be engaged in, like the Unison Choir, the schools, Horowhenua College, Waipu, Living Intermediate, when we went out early and engaged and got a really great response from the youth. And some quite varying opinions, I might say, compared to what you've offered in your submission and in your video. That covered some of the things that youth came in and targeted us with, but it certainly didn't capture a lot of it. And I don't know if you know what those other matters are that have already been arisen by those groups. But what I actually wanted to ask is, I'm really interested in how interested you are in being a part of this project, and whether you've ever had the opportunity or were offered the ability to join one of the reference groups. And if they haven't, is there an opportunity still for youth to be represented in that space? So that's just a question for me to really try and capture you guys and hear from you consistently on what you think the project is doing and doing well and not doing well.
As Youth Voice, we would definitely like to be more involved in this process. We feel that Youth Voice is very valuable in our town and often underrepresented. So to have that say would be very valuable to us.
Would you be willing, sorry me Benny, if that was opportunity, would you take up the responsibility? I'm not saying it's you guys, but if there was a representative, would that also look at re-engaging with our schools and places like that, as well as to bring their voices back to the table through your own mechanism?
Yes, we would be very happy to engage with other schools and the wider community, and I suppose act as a funnel for their ideas, to bring that to you guys.
So I believe there has been a representative on the reference group from Youth Voice. Casey and Liam, I really appreciate the fact that you've taken the time and effort to appear to us today. Love your t-shirts, by the way. Look, your views will definitely be considered, and your suggestions, which have been very articulately given and thoughtful, and I'm sure councillors will consider them at the appropriate time. And I just want to acknowledge the passion and the thoughtfulness that's gone into this submission. I think the future of the districts is in great hands if you are a representative group of what is out there at the moment, and it shows again the value of us making sure that we do connect with you as youth. So yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Cheers. So we have one member of the public who wished to speak to us on another agenda item that wasn't able to get here earlier. So Judy, I'll welcome you to the table to talk about a dog bylaw. John, you're welcome to rejoin the table. Yes, you're allowed back. Yes. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to have a few words. We missed the chance to speak on the dropping of the puppy class last time, so getting in really early this time. Understand it might be a little bit too early, but I'm here. Just background for me, I'm not a breeder. I don't have any vested interest in whether there's a puppy category or not, but as a instructor and dog trainer, I do see what happens when dogs aren't trained. So what we have at the Horowhenua Dog Club is we only accept dogs registered for training. And this has had the dropping of the puppy class has had an unintended consequence there, because people are saying we can't afford to pay twice the amount for our entire puppy, therefore we won't be starting our training until after the dog's neutered and we get the cheaper rate. Now, I understand probably they're spending $100 on something else, but that is the perception. The value is just not there. And this is leading to more untrained dogs, because the longer you leave the training, the harder it becomes. So just on the neutering side, depending on the breed, they shouldn't be neutered less than between 6 and 23 months. So that's quite a long time to be paying the entire dog fee. So I like to come up with alternatives rather than just problems. So if the puppy class was there, it would encourage people to register, whereas at the moment they're just not registering at all. So you're losing that money altogether. The other side of it is the responsible owner category. So I notice that entire dogs are excluded from that, but as a property check as part of the responsible owner category, you know that entire dog is pretty unlikely to be heading out into the wild blue yonder doing naughty doggy things. So could perhaps entire dogs be included in that responsible owner category, which would solve the problem of having a separate puppy class, which changes every now and again. So, any questions about that?
Thank you, Judy. Councillor Proctor, you. So you will have to turn your mic off. Sorry, Judy. Thank you.
I just have a comment, and thank you for your emails. There will be an answer coming. There's a very concise but lengthy email explaining Council's position. But at the end of the email, it does encourage you to submit to the strategy and provide that very clearly, provide that solution, articulate it very well, so how we can change the strategy to meet your needs as well. Would be useful. Thanks.
So, yeah, look, we encourage that feedback, Judy, from the wider community as well. You know, the more we hear, the more informed we are, and the better decision making that we've got in front of us, hopefully. So, yeah, look, today is only about process and adopting a consultation, or putting it out to consultation. But thank you for coming to speak to us. Councillors, we're going to take a break. We'll adjourn for 15 minutes and return at 1:15. Thank you. All good? Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Let's recommence our meeting, and we will move to page 259, which is item 7.2, Council Lease Portfolio Update. And Lacey is coming to present this, and while she does so, move recommendation A, that the report update be received and recognised as not significant. Seconded by Councillor Grimstone. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Sorry, welcome Brent as well. In your hands, Lacey, thank you.
Kia ora, councillors, and good afternoon. Council will recall that towards the end of last year, we presented a workshop on Council's lease portfolio where we discussed a number of steps that the officers are undertaking to review our current portfolio and bring it up to the policy. Alongside that, we mentioned that there were a number of things that we wanted to address within our policy. Today we are bringing to you 2 suggested changes to both the commercial leases policy and the community leases policy. Please note that this is just step 1. We will, following today's decision, we are currently undertaking further review of these policies and bring back in about 2 months' time some further recommendations on a more thorough review. Happy to take any questions.
My first question is, Lacey, then why are we doing this little bit now? Why doesn't that wait till we do the full review?
Good question. We have a number of leases which are waiting for some changes, and we had originally thought to bring all of the changes together in one bigger review. However, we are mindful that these leases want to progress, as well as some of the mobile traders who are wanting to have a licence to occupy with council, but concerned about price for the longer term that they want. So we were just wanting to provide some clarity to those people.
Because that's my other question. This is an interesting philosophical decision about here's a group of people saying the price is too high and we're therefore making adjustments, but then we have lots of other groups that tell us, like probably dog owners and others, that the price is too high, and yet we continue to do that. So in terms of, I suppose, the private-public good discussion, where does this sit?
Thank you for the question, and through your worship, there are a number of things that we have considered when putting through these recommendations. So one in particular is Council's finance and revenue policy, where we've looked at what Council has decided is the public good and private revenue that should be achieved between the different leases. So for example, the community leases, they should be balanced. 0 to 20% should be public use, private for the payer use, the user pays, and the rest should be public good. Whereas when it comes to the suggested amendment for the commercial policy, that is around weighing up whether someone actually asks us for a license to occupy when trading on council-owned land, or whether they just try and wing it and we don't know and therefore get no income whatsoever. So trying to weigh up those things.
Any further questions for either Lacey or Brent? And Sean is now joining. Councillor Tamiana.
Kia ora guys, thank you for your report. I just would draw your attention to page 267 or number 3 of 14, and you've conditions C, community lease rent will no community lease will be less than $200. But it doesn't say whether that's per week or per annum, so I just wanted some clarification around there. And secondary to that, I do concerned, I probably don't know enough about our commercial leasing policy to understand how we attain rates. I would like more information about how we determine what we're offering the various groups when they take lease arrangements from us. You can ask me as I go, but the other one I've put in here is I have got some concerns around. I don't know if I've got the right page here, but you certainly are encouraging in here that at the end of leases, you will encourage the leasee to look at purchasing the said leased property. And I'm really concerned that that takes away from perhaps some of our other policies, and particularly our right of first refusal one that we still haven't adopted. And so my concern is, does these lease have we got something in here that's ensuring for future? I mean, given you're here today saying that there are lessees currently sitting there wanting to renew or progress new arrangements, I'm really concerned that there's clauses in there that are going to give them a right of first refusal option. And if it is in there, I want those removed, because I think it needs to be in line with our actual disposal policy, particularly for assets that are deemed non-core. And I have one more point around this core and non-core. I'm really concerned that we don't actually determine or reflect what core and non-core are to us as council in an operation, and to us in council and the people we represent. And I would like to understand how you make decisions as such around how we as a council determine a property to be non-core because of its operational need and status, as opposed to its community need and desire to keep. And so I'm sorry if I'm raising a lot here. I don't do it through emails anymore because I find I don't get the same outcome by bringing the matters here. But I really want to understand our lease arrangements, and I want to understand before we renew any lease arrangements that we are not proposing or subjecting to those lessees that they have more potential than anyone else if we've actually got internal processes that should be followed that don't give people that first right. So sorry if it's a lot, but that's some of my feedback to this document.
Thank you for your questions, Councillor Tamihana, and through you, Your Worship. You're right, there were a few things in there, so hopefully I've managed to capture them all. First off, the minimum at 200 is per annum for a community lease, and that's following the matrix within the community leases policy, but that is the absolute minimum that council charges for a community lease.
Okay, and the reason I raise that, Lacey, is because there is kōrero out there now within our community that people are rushing to lease our assets really quickly. Hearing it all around the district now. What's council got available? I want to lease it because I'm going to get first right of refusal on it. That's actually what's being spoken out there right now.
Thank you. That is not something that we have seen from our perspective when looking for new leases or renewal of leases. As mentioned at the beginning, this is two suggested amendments initially, but there will be a broader review. There is a broader review being undertaken of both of those policies, and I think a number of things that you have mentioned this afternoon does fit in within that broader review, in particular it being in line with our disposal, with our property strategy. Yeah, and additionally, I think some of what was mentioned is within changes that are needed within the property strategy as opposed to the leases. In regards to how council makes the decisions around core and non-core. But yes,
absolutely there should be some alignment with what is within that and the leasing policies.
Thank you for that. I don't require all the answers to everything. I wanted to signal it because I'm actually raising that as you go into new lease arrangements, we aren't able to give that feedback or make those changes in the wider. But I think it's important we capture it here now so that as you go into these new arrangements or renew arrangements, you take on board some of those concerns I've said. I still believe in commercial arrangements and they should stay as such. And, even to this morning's point, I didn't get to talk in Mayor Burney, but I wish I had have had the opportunity. But I do get concerned about conflict and how we manage conflict, because even in these submissions, I've noticed that there are submissions here for people that lease our properties. And so I do get concerned about, the ability for lessees to actually participate in a process to dispose or not dispose of anything in our district when they're leasing our properties. And not only that, people that are submitting, because there's a lot of familiar names in there, and many of those names are relevant to staff we have. And so I do wonder how we even manage some of those, because actually those submissions that came through today very clearly were our family members that were supporting key people that we have in the project. I'm not saying that there's anything untoward going on it at all. I'm just suggesting I don't know how, and because of the redaction of material, I don't even know who was submitting half of those submissions. So that's all.
So, Your Worship, I'll take your lead on with it, because that's more a question about how we manage conflicts inside the business and submissions into this process. And I think it's important that we are given the opportunity to respond to that. But I'm also just conscious of the topic in front of us. Probably just I do want to make two additional points to what Mrs. Winiata has already commented on. The first is that I want to just remind the table that it's not council officers that decide what is core or not core. That is a decision of council as laid out in the property strategy that was adopted by council. Secondly, I want to remind the table that when you have requested work on both the mana whenua first rights of refusal and a review of our community leases policy, we have not had mandate or direction from council about a broader review of the property strategy. And I think, Councillor Tamihana, a number of the questions that you raised, they're really fair questions, but they are the sorts of questions that if there was a piece of work in time that took that bigger picture view on council's approach to managing property and all the different components of that, then I think that there'd be a clearer picture on how it all comes together. But the mandate from this table until now has been, we've got these two kind of bespoke pieces of work that do link into a broader property strategy that hasn't been reviewed since council adopted it in 2017.
And look, just following on from what the Chief Executive said, if you have any assertions around what is happening with leases that you're hearing of in the community, or potential conflicts of interest, then I do think it's advisable that you inform the organisation of those through the Chief Executive. I mean, that would be, to ensure that whatever is happening out there is considered and dealt with. Councillor Grimstone.
Yeah, Mrs. Winiata, because I'm asking a question that can you remind me? So can you remind me around the rationale for the $200 figure per annum as being the minimum in terms of, I know during our workshop we had discussion around it, I just can't recall why we didn't look to increase that minimum.
Thank you, Councillor, and through the Mayor. Just in answer to that, that $200 was arrived at as part of the adoption of the policy back in 2016, 2017. Yeah.
That will no doubt be part of the review that comes following this in the next few months, I assume. Yep.
Yes, that's correct. And sorry, through you, Your Worship, I just want to expand on that a bit more. At the time, it was decided that council wanted to provide opportunities for our community groups to utilise our facilities, and so following extensive working with the community and with councillors themselves, at that time $200 was seemed fair as a minimum, but it is based off a matrix. So, you know.
Councillor Boyle, you have a question?
Yeah, just in terms of the commercial maximum annual cap, could you give some hypothetical examples of people that this might apply to? Are we talking about ice cream carts on the beach and coffee carts at reserves?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Boyle, and through you, Your Worship, that's exactly the example we are talking about. Currently, Council has a number of sections within Waitarere, Foxton Beach, Foxton Town, in Levin and Shannon, where mobile traders, once they have got their mobile trading permit, can ask to have a license to occupy and trade from those areas. It's obviously really popular during summer in particular, and so in order to help suggest that they request a license to occupy rather than just park anywhere on the side of the street, we have heard feedback from those traders that having a cap, because at the moment it is a per day charge. So if they want to be there for a number of months over the summer period, it can add up. So a cap is what we're asking for today.
May I just ask the CEO a question around timeframes of the fuller review? What is the timeframe? Because it's 8 years since the last review.
The property strategy. I think the intent would be that following the election in October, when council is setting its priorities, and the pre-briefing documentation will provide, we will note and signal the need for some work on that, but ultimately it will be council's decision on whether they deem it a priority.
Would we be able to bring a subsequent motion to, as council, to actually fast track that?
Absolutely, but to fast track that will require council to deprioritise something else in the work program. Yeah.
And a short time frame that we have before an election. Thank you, team. Appreciate that. So we have recommendations in front of us. C, that changes identified in the review of both the commercial leasing concessions and permits policy and the community leasing policy are authorised by council as follows. C1, that the commercial leasing concessions and permit policy, page 7, has the following additions. C1.1, and the section titled Permit and Licences to Trade, insert point 3, a maximum annual cap of $1,500 plus GST per annum applies to permits and licence to trade agreements. And C2, that the community leasing policy, page 4, has the following addition. C.2.1, in the section titled Reporting, insert point 3, all recipients of community leases will be required to include within their annual report, as noted in point 1, any council grants or funding applied for within the applicable year, as well as any external funding that the lessee has received over the same year. I'm happy to move. Can I have a second, please? Deputy Mayor Allen, any debate or discussion? Put the recommendations. All those in favour? Against? I can't see your hands, sorry, gentlemen, on the screen. Can you just, by a show of hands?
Sorry, I had my hand raised earlier. I was hoping we could do the matters separate, the commercial and the non-commercial separate, but they're already on the table. I'll just vote against. The rest
You'll vote against? Okay.
In favour.
Yep, thank you. Cheers. All right. So noted, and we now move to 7.3. which is the Dog Control Policy and Bylaw Review. We just advise coming to join us, just moving recommendations A and B, that the report the report be received, and that this matter is recognised as significant. So, seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Thank you. Welcome, Vi. Welcome back, Brent.
Kia ora, Your Worship and Councillors. This report seeks agreement from Council to proceed to public consultation on the proposed changes to the dog control bylaw and dog control policy. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the two members of the public who spoke earlier to this report, Rosemary and Judy, and thank them for their engagement in this process. The dog control bylaw is due for review by August this year, and the proposed changes aim to ensure it's fit for purpose, supports responsible dog ownership, protecting public safety and meeting the needs of our community. In developing the proposals, officers have also been mindful of the wider cost of living pressures facing our community, including those who own dogs, and the decisions made recently through the LTP process. Elected members have contributed to the development of the proposed changes through earlier discussions and workshops during the review process, and in recent days we've also received a number of questions from elected members seeking clarity around potential impact of the proposed changes, including potential impacts on the proposed RDOA process. And in response, officers have provided some preliminary modelling to help illustrate the effects. It's important to note that any potential reduction in revenue, for example from the changes to fee structures, would need to be redistributed across the wider base of dog owners to ensure the overall cost of providing the dog control service continues to be met. And so if the proposed RDOA process is to have a high level of uptake, the cost associated with providing this scheme will mean there is a higher amount to redistribute amongst dog owners. Also, as part of this report, Council is also being asked to confirm the statutory review of the bylaw under Section 155 of the Local Government Act is complete, and in doing so, Council is asked to determine that a standalone bylaw is still the most appropriate way to address the issues that the dog control bylaw addresses, and that the proposed amendments are necessary, and that the proposed bylaw does not give any rise to any implications under the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act. A statement of proposal is included with this report, which contains a summary of key changes, a section-by-section breakdown of the changes, a version of the draft bylaw showing the track changes, the draft policy showing the track changes, and a clean copy of the proposed bylaw for easier reading. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Vi? Here, none. Thanks, Vi. And look, appreciate those, very swift responses. It makes our job a heck of a lot easier when we can see immediately what is going on in that space. So, yeah, thank you. And I'm sure it gives confidence to the public that they are, being considered. Thank you. All right, so we have recommendations C to F in front of us. That the Council agrees that proposed changes to the Dog Control Policy 2016 and Attachment C meet the requirements of Section 10 of the Dog Control Act. That the Council determines in accordance with Section 155 of the Local Government Act 2002 that the Dog Control Bylaw and Attachment A, D1, is the most appropriate form of bylaw. D2 is the most appropriate way of addressing the identified dog control problems in the Horowhenua. D3 does not give rise to any implications under the New Zealand Bill of Rights 1990. E, that Council agrees to consult using the special consultative procedure as set out in Section 83 of the Local Government Act 2002 be used for consultation purposes, and Council adopts the statement of proposal attached as Attachment B be used to carry out the special consultative procedure. That the hearing of any submissions on this matter be heard by the Hearings Committee of Council acting under delegated authority, and the subsequent recommendation be made by the Committee to Council on this matter. Seconded by Councillor Horowhenua. Any further discussion? Put the recommendations. All those in favour? Thank you, gentlemen. On screen. Against? Carried. Thank you. Moving to 7.4, the confirmation of, which is page 385, the confirmation of redistribution of remuneration pool for elected members. Ashley is coming to present this, and while she does so, can I just move recommendations A and B, that the report be received and recognised as not significant. Second by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. That was a mouthful. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll take the report as read, but just give a bit of a backstory. So this report seeks confirmation of the proposed redistribution of the remuneration pool for elected members as a result of the resignation of Councillor Tukapua and the subsequent decision which followed to not fill the extraordinary vacancy. The Remuneration Authority and its processes relating to this is very prescribed, and with this, the local government members' determination sets remuneration for elected members in local government. With the decision to leave the role vacant for the remainder of the term, Council now comprises of fewer elected members and fewer councillors. The government's pool has to be redistributed among the remaining councillors using the approved formula. This has now been completed and can be viewed in the table included in the report, which is now on the table for decision. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Just noting, Ashley, and I suppose it needs to be sort of out there in the public, that Council does not set the remuneration figure. It is set by the Remuneration Authority, and we have no alternative actually to try and make savings or do anything different from what we are doing.
Agree, and the other thing to note is that the mayor does not fall into the remuneration pool for councillors, which is why you will not see the mayor included within this report. That is a separate pool.
Any further questions for Ashley? Thanks, Ashley. All right, so we have recommendation C, that Council confirm the distribution of the governance pool from 3 November 2024 following the resignation of Councillor Tukapua as follows. And I'm not going to read out those amounts, but you can read them there. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Grimstone. Completely procedural. Happy to move the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. All right, we now move to 8.1, which is the Interim Organisation Performance Report, March 2025. And just note the recommendation A, that the report be received and noted, seconded by Councillor Olsen. Thank you. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Chief Executive, you wish to speak to this?
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, I'll take the report as read and happy to answer questions. What I do want to draw Council's attention to is our financial position year to date. You'll note that in the update on page 395 of your agenda, we are signalling to Council that we're tracking well to meet the underlying operational budget, which includes a saving and a reduction in our operational spend. There we report a 200 to 300k. I'm feeling very confident that we will land at least 300k under budget, but we of course are continuing to monitor that on a daily, if not weekly, basis. Mayor Bernie, happy to answer questions, and I probably in the spirit of the pursuing organisation excellence priority, just when the appropriate time is, I would like to clarify the earlier question around staff conflicts of interest and being able to make a submission to a process, because I think it's important that the public hear that answer, given there was commentary made in public.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Councillor Tamihana.
Just a comment from me, Mori. It's I enjoyed reading the report. I like the shortness of it, even though it's still long. But I think that you finding savings in the organisation is really important, that our community hear that, and the way you're operating, I think, just want to encourage you to keep doing that, because I think it's a really good messaging, and that we're on track is really good messaging as well.
Blair, actually, I have a question in relation to the housing plan action priorities, and in light of Kaingora's non-involvement in some of the plans that we had for the future. I just wondered, and you're talking about, you're taking up some of the initiatives in terms of that space. What does that actually mean?
I think it through yourself. Yeah, Bernie. Essentially in that space, with the changes to the method that KO are taking to market, then I think we've spoken previously about needing to pivot into an alternate approach to some of those spaces. So some of the land that council had previously identified as being surplus to requirements may no longer have an option to go in the social housing direction as was potentially targeted previously, and may need to go through alternate channels. I think as part of the housing action plan, there was also a number of other initiatives to be considered through that process, which weren't strictly around Kaingora or social housing, but more around affordable housing and what programs and structures and opportunities existed to be able to create affordable housing options. Some of that comes down to potential council land and potential availability, but also other methods, which we can talk to in more detail if required. But some of that, one idea, for example, was around what I call releasing ghost housing, which is vacant rentals in the district, and how we might be able to assist in that process, for example.
Is there any indication from KO when they might revisit some of those things, or are we still waiting for their new strategy to evolve?
I think their strategy has evolved to an extent. Essentially, the messaging that I'm receiving is that their program has been halved. So they already had a number of initiatives underway, which they'll seek to continue to the middle of this year. So there'll be a bit of a pause, stalling period whilst they catch up, complete recover. But then they will get back onto a program of renewal and replacement and build, but it will be greatly reduced. So it's a bit unclear as to the absolute direction, but they will come back, but in a much reduced capacity.
I'm sorry because I was interested in the dashboard that was shared from the Horowhenua company, where it said there'd been a 50% increase in social housing availability in the district, which I thought was quite fantastic in terms of actually supplying the need in the community. So that relationship that we've had in that space has obviously been working really well, and I think you should be acknowledged. So thank you.
Not so much a question, but just, I guess, commentary to just double down on the importance of the work and the mahi that the comms team as a whole are doing to support all the bits of work that we've got out, from the excellent Facebook video of Councillor Olsen and the Shannon Community Plan, to the fact that the Live-In Town Centre had the second most clicks from our website, to really great to see that 1,200 people are thinking about getting a camping permit here in the Horowhenua. So that's that sort of activity, but that's underpinned by the work that the comms team have done in relation to our consultation booklet, the website, the social media, and all of that wraps up to help us deliver a really good level of engagement and awareness going out into the community.
Yeah, look, well said, Councillor Grinstone. No, I just wanted to comment too, in particular on the
tracking of the Shannon Community Plan. It's referenced both on page 409 and 413. 10% of the town making submissions. That is connection with the community, and that didn't happen by accident. And also on page 413, the one council team under the Mahitahi, and just again to recognise the work of Anne, Christine and Councillor Olsen. There's some really great stuff happening there, and I can't stress how important that will be looking forward in terms of a town that has often been forgotten.
Councillor Jennings, did you have your hand up?
I did, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just also wanted to just make a comment on the financial aspects of the report, and it's really just to commend Monique, Jacinta, and the rest of ELT and the team in terms of that budget management, the compliance with financial strategy, benchmarks, financial discipline. We've obviously also developed the financial dashboard as part of the risk and assurance committee program, and look, we're just feeling really positive, and I think the report needs to be, those aspects of the report need to be highlighted because it really reinforces that we're on track. I need to obviously personally tune in a little bit more around the capital program spend, but as I say, look, really comforted by where we're sitting in terms of the report, in terms of that financial discipline and budget management. So thanks to the team.
Councillor Brannigan, I'm noting Councillor Jennings' comments about the capital spend. Did you wish to make any comment following last week's steering group meeting?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, only really that it was a very detailed presentation from Tony and Daniel and the team, which highlighted sort of shifting some of the expenditure from water to wastewater, and the motivation for that really was that the wastewater was a lot more urgent. At the moment, the work previously done on the water assets has left that in good stead. So the priority needs clearly to be wastewater. So some underspend, but that was explained very well. So I'm sure we'll catch up on that very soon, Councillor Jennings. But really good work by the team.
Thank you, Councillor Olsen.
Just quickly on that also, like some of that CIP funding has changed around a little bit, just the timing. So some of that will dovetail into that capital works program, which is obviously reflective both in the income and expenditure through the dashboard as well. Just to note. So.
It appears to be the end of the questions, doesn't it?
Sorry, just me. No, it was just back a question around the Kāinga Ora stuff. So I just wanted to make sure, and sorry if I haven't picked it up in the report, but just looking that we receive full cost recovery for everything we did in that space to prepare those sites and the district plans and everything around the Kāinga Ora opportunity. Is that a full recovery to us?
I can't give you that absolute assurance right now, but certainly it's something that Blair and I will go away and have a conversation about. All costs have been covered, but that cost doesn't include officer time. So let Blair and I take that offline, acknowledging, of course, that while the opportunity with Kāinga Ora doesn't seem to be available to us right now, we are still hopeful, particularly with the Horowhenua project, that we might get something across the line. But as has already also been mentioned to elected members previously, we are actively working with new chips and existing chips who may be interested, and Kāinga Ora are actively supporting us in that work as well. So they are playing a helpful role in that they're wanting to achieve housing outcomes as well. They just recognise that right now it can't be them delivering it.
Thank you very much, because now I don't have to ask the question. You framed it beautifully.
Thank you. Do you want to follow up on your earlier?
Yeah, through your worship. Look, I just wanted to give the table assurance that there is very clear guidelines in place for staff around our responsibility to remain politically neutral. Of course, we can't take away from staff their citizen rights that they have under the Human Rights Act. But we do actively discourage staff from engaging in public consultation process. If they do want to engage in a public consultation process, we're very clear that there must be a notification to their manager. They are unable to use any council resources, whether that be time, equipment, or internal information to participate in that. Must be made in their personal capacity outside of work. And of course, if it has anything to do with their work, then that wouldn't be okay. So, for example, in the instance of Live In Town Centre, the Memorial Hall consultation, we have one staff member who has made a submission. There are very clear guidelines to staff, and if staff were to breach the guidelines, would result in disciplinary action.
Thank you. Thank you all. And I will now move to item 8.2, which is the Council Resolution and Actions Monitoring Report for March 2025. Just move that the report be received and noted. Second by Councillor Barker. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Anything on this report that councillors wish to seek clarification or ask questions on?
Not a question, Mayor Bernie, but more a comment, and probably just for our team, because I noticed that many of the ones that read seem to be matters around our partners. So I do wonder whether there's an opportunity to try and sort of take those a little bit offline and have some further conversations around resolving some of those matters with a bit more discretion, I think, with iwi partners. Yeah.
So noted. All right, moving on then to 9.1, the proceedings of the Risk and Insurance Committee for meeting 26th of February. Move that these proceedings and minutes be received and noted. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Thank you. Any items in those minutes that councillors wish to ask about? All right, moving to 9.2, which is the proceedings of the Community Funding and Recognition Committee of the meeting held the 19th of February 2025. Move that the minutes be received and noted. Seconded by Councillor Proctor. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Again, any items in those minutes that need clarification or questions sought? Moving to the proceedings of the Te Awaho Foxton Community Board of the 10th of March. Move that these minutes be received and noted. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Again, any questions or comments around those minutes? Moving to 9.4, the proceedings of the Community Wellbeing Committee for the 12th of March. Move that these proceedings of the minutes be received and noted. Seconded by Councillor Olsen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Again, anything in those minutes that people wish to seek answers to?
Just one for me, Mayor Bernie, sorry. It's 5.1 around the vaping initiatives and challenges. I just wonder, are we actually aligned in that space when we have so much of those facilities popping up around our district? It's just a question, yeah.
I'm sure we can share the presentation actually that was given at that community wellbeing meeting, which talked about the number of outlets we have and the work that they were doing in terms of making sure compliance was met and all those sorts of things. So yeah, it was quite interesting actually. And I'm sure, Brent, if you could talk to Mark and ask him if he could distribute that that presentation. I'm sure it was made available to us.
Yeah, look, it was quite an insightful presentation and detailed down the 2 levels of retailers that they offer, from a very small limited number that can offer multiple vape offerings to the numerous next set of numbers that can offer a very limited range, and the implications of the policies that are coming up. So well worth having a look at.
Yes, in fact, the Community Wellbeing Committee was live streamed for the first time, so it's on. It's online. Yes, which was a new initiative that we thought, well, it's a public meeting. So we live streamed it as well. Thank you, Alice. Okay, so that brings us to the conclusion of our open agenda. Just moving. Motion to move into public excluded. So the general subject of each matter to be considered while the public is excluded. The reason for passing the resolution in relation to each matter and the specific grounds under section 48.1 of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 for the passing of this resolution as follows. This resolution is made in reliance on section 48.1 of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 and the particular interest or interest protected by section 6 or section 7 of that act, which would be prejudiced by the holding of the whole or relevant part of the proceedings of the meeting in public as follows. C1, decision to sell the Levin War Memorial Hall and Village Green for proposed redevelopment. C2, follow up on ratepayers' request to receive funding to help reduce the impact of rates. C3, the solid waste section 17A service delivery review recommendations. C4, the public excluded proceedings of the Risk and Insurance Committee of the 26th of February. And C5, Council Resolution and Actions Monitoring Report for March 2025. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. So we'll just take a 5-minute break.